Everybody, my name is Jen and welcome to my channel. I am a woman in long-term recovery. I'm also a CARC, a SERPA, a rape crisis counselor, a harm reductionist, and a million other things. If you are new here, welcome. If you are returning, welcome back. So as you can see today, I have a guest with me. This is someone who I have been working with for a while on and off, and he has come on the channel to tell his story. So what's your name?
I'm Dana Britton, 43. Just got out of treatment here not too long ago.
Treatment for what?
Drug addiction.
What kind?
Heroin and meth.
Okay.
Mostly.
How long have you been getting high?
Most of my life. Started smoking pot when I was probably 11 years old, drinking about the same age. Harder drugs came a little later, probably in my teens. Started with painkillers mostly, back during a big pill push. And
Me too.
as the availability became less and less when they started cracking down on the pills, I did like most other people did and switched to heroin. Then, of course, somewhere along the lines, heroin switched to fentanyl. And that's when things got real crazy.
Yeah.
I started using meth in a misguided attempt to stop doing heroin because I was trying to kick heroin, and a friend of mine told me that meth would take away to withdrawal syndromes or symptoms rather, and it did, but it's kind of like trying to quit smoking by chewing tobacco.
Right. You know, it's so funny because you're not the only, you're absolutely not the first person who tried to reduce the harm in their life by using one substance that they thought was going to be less dangerous than the other.
Yeah.
I feel like if you guys hear Frankie, I'm sorry, she's over here chewing on toy. Oh, she's going to make an appearance, I think. Maybe, sort of. You guys could see a very small section of her. So I think a lot of people have been doing heroin and have thought this sucks, these DTs are fucking trash.
Yeah.
And then they switch over to meth because they think it's going to make it easier. And it does at first. It genuinely does, because you don't have to worry about the detox point. Hold on.
Depends too, because the government, in a misguided attempt to try to cut down on the amount of meth operations in the United States, put all the restrictions on the chemicals and stuff so that you don't have them as readily available. But what they really did was they created a situation where people started outsourcing to Mexico for meth, and they put fentanyl in every goddamn thing down there. So now you got meth addicts that are actually overdosing on shots of meth because it's got fentanyl in it too.
Right.
So,
and it's crazy. So people tell me all the time, oh, I don't do fentanyl, I do meth. I don't do heroin, I do meth. I don't need any fentanyl test strips. And I'm like, well, that's where you're wrong. You inadvertently are doing it because it's in everything, right?
Yeah, big time.
So unfortunately, okay, so that's where, so on and off your whole life, you've been doing drugs, pills turned into heroin turned into fentanyl turned into meth, and then you ended up getting incarcerated.
Yeah, a couple times. Pretty much the last 3 years of my life have been spent between county jail and rehab and supportive living. I went to Otsego County Jail a couple of years back. I did 12 months there. I had an assortment of charges from 3 different counties, all basically all to do with just doing stupid shit to get high. Petty larcenies, possession charges. Thank God I didn't get caught for a lot of it. Probably shouldn't say that on the internet.
No, it's the truth. I say it all the time. I'm glad I got caught for what I got caught for.
Yeah, I remember sitting in jail and hearing guys complaining and bitching and moaning about the stuff that they were doing time for. It's like, for me it was, small potatoes compared to what I could have been doing, what a lot of my friends are doing.
Yeah.
So I really, there were times where I just embraced it and was actually glad that I was in jail, because if I wasn't, I'd probably be dead.
Yes.
Big believer in things happen for a reason, for sure. But
so after your Otsego County charges and all of that, you ended up getting arrested in Delaware County.
Yeah, I got out for 3.5 months, and I just went ape shit. I turned it up to 100.
So Dana and I have always known of each other, but it took until he got incarcerated in the Delaware County Jail in last year, in the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
Last year in the beginning of the year. And because it was still COVID time and I wasn't able to be inside the jail like I am now, my phone number was posted up, and he called me and he was like, I need help. And I was like, awesome. And we started to work together and try and navigate a bunch of charges. And he had been offered rehab, but then they denied you because of medical reasons.
Yeah.
Which was
Nonsense.
Complete bullshit.
It was over low blood sugar.
I didn't want to say. I didn't know if you were
Yeah,
comfortable.
no, I don't.
Like, it was not anything medically, like a substantial medical reason or something that couldn't have been very easily managed. He was having issues with blood sugar, especially during your use, I would say. That
Yeah,
probably
especially with
amplified
meth
it.
because I didn't eat much. But even in jail, I mean,
It's so manageable.
The diet that they have in jail isn't conducive to my condition to begin with. And really, I don't usually have those symptoms very often, except for when I'm in jail because of their diet. Hypoglycemia is supposed to be treated proactively rather than reactively. In a sense, you're supposed to have small snacks between meals and that kind of stuff to maintain your blood sugar. And in there, they feed you based on the clock, very little, and it's mostly carbs. The carbs antagonize your pancreas to make insulin, but mine doesn't shut off, so it just keeps pumping out insulin. So when the carbs are gone, my sugar goes low. And when your last meal is at 4 o'clock, by 9 o'clock, my sugar would be down in the
right. 20s. I mean, anyone. There are times when if I don't eat breakfast or something, now that I'm an older woman, right, I will notice I get shaky. Mm-hmm. Happens to Jared, happens to Bella. The nurse had to call me from school a couple of weeks ago, and she goes, like when you don't eat enough and you're shaky? And I was like, yeah. She goes, the same thing happens to her. And I said, well, it tends to run in the family. So, that's a very valid thing. Our bodies, especially when we mess with them for so long, mm-hmm. They tend to get tired of our shit.
Yeah, for sure. I actually think that methamphetamine use had a lot to do with me ending up with the condition to begin with.
Mm-hmm. I think my meth use is how I got my heart condition, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
I genuinely feel that in my soul. I've asked the cardiologist numerous times, like, is this for my drug use? And he's like, we'll never know, so let's just fix it. But I genuinely feel it is the meth use that...
It antagonizes a lot of stuff. Mm-hmm. I know it antagonizes schizophrenia and stuff, too.
Oh, absolutely.
I feel wholeheartedly there's people out there that have schizophrenia kind of laying inside of them that may or may not even ever come out of them, except for having had used meth. My friend was like that. He ended up killing himself as a result.
We have a friend who, when you were incarcerated, right?
Yeah.
We have a friend that, now we're not really friends with him anymore, unfortunately, because he's still very active in his use. But he had schizophrenia in his family to begin with. Mm-hmm. And I think the meth use just really brought it to a head. And unfortunately, his mental health wasn't strong enough to fight it off. And he's just in a continuous state of type of schizophrenia, unfortunately. And won't allow anyone to help him because he doesn't believe it's real. So it just magnifies the chaos in his life, unfortunately. All right, so you and I started working together while you were incarcerated in jail, and you are an incredibly intelligent man. You truly are, Dana. You really are. I think you might be too smart for your own good at times.
Sometimes.
I have a bunch of guys that I work with, like a handful, less than a handful. That's their problem. They're so incredibly intelligent that they make it so much harder for themselves. And you're that guy too. Another one is this guy Steven who moved out of state, but and I tell him all the time, please stop thinking and please start listening because he's so smart and you're just like that. And I think sometimes that gets in our way. I've had moments where I've had to really stop using my brain and just follow good orderly advice because my best thinking sometimes sucks.
Yeah, I have a hard time doing that sometimes because I've spent my life having to try to get out in front of things. Mm-hmm. Because if not, crazy shit comes down the pipe at me. And in an effort to combat that, I would try to get out and around it. And in doing so now, a lot of times, like you said, because of my own best thinking, I end up putting myself in worse positions. Or I get into that self-destructive mode where I just sabotage myself before I have a chance to get off the ground. That's been something I fought with for a long time.
So you got out of jail.
Yeah.
I picked you up.
Yeah.
And we went to the shelter together.
Yeah.
And you moved into the shelter.
And I fucked up royally.
Well, I mean... It's valid, but so you were ready. I think you needed to test that water one last time and be like, "Is this for real? Is this really what I want?" let's see how bad it can be. Because maybe it's not going to be so bad. I think these are the lies that we tell ourselves. So I was supposed to, you wanted me to come pick you up to take you back to the town. And I was like, no, I can't. Because I just knew. I knew you were too anxious about it. And I just, unfortunately, my higher power has given me this gross sixth sense about certain things. And I think that's why I do as well as I do at my job, because I know. And then you fucking disappeared on us.
Well,
My boss calls me and she's like, Dana's MIA. And I was like, no.
In my mind, I just wanted to go see my kids, and that was the truth of it. But when I got to town, I actually rode my bike.
You fucking savage.
Yeah.
That's a fucking trip.
Yeah.
That's like, it's a half hour by car.
But by the time I got there on the bike, I grenaded the bike and was shot. It was nothing
How
left.
long did it take you?
4.5 hours.
Oh my God, you're a fucking beast. I swear to God, that's insane. Yeah. I couldn't have made those hills pedaling uphill. Oh, everybody, the kitty's now here. Lena's here, guys. See, she's right here in the corner.
But yeah, I got that
4.5 hours.
I got to my mom's house. She died when I was in jail, the day after Thanksgiving, and I hadn't processed any of that yet. I kind of blocked that out because I was in jail. I wasn't too happy about that.
And your stepdaughter was about to have a baby.
Yeah.
She had the baby while you were in there, right?
Yeah.
This is how she plays. I'm sorry. Yeah, everybody's mean around here. Everybody wants to nibble on him. And then, so did you get to see Bob? Bob is his stepdad.
Yeah, that's where I went actually. I went there first, and I ran into him, and like I said, I found out some stuff about my friend dying and that kind of thing, and I use it as a reason to go out and screw up.
It's valid though. I mean, most people need. We can only hold so much, right? Everybody has a breaking point, whether it's for little bullshit things or big heavy things. We all have different breaking points of different things in our life at that time. That was a big deal, right? I remember when he passed away. Like, that was a big deal. The whole story was sketchy. How they found him, who found him, what they said, what they didn't say. The fact that he had mental illness and they were not sure. At first they weren't sure if he had overdosed or if he had unalived himself. Things of that nature.
Yeah.
So, that's really valid in all honesty. And like I told you, when you got rearrested and went back to jail, and I was like, why didn't you call me? And I was mad at you. I was mad at you.
Yeah.
I was, because I care. And I was like, you pick up the phone and call me for every little freaking thing while you're inside. And something major like this happens. And you're like, oh, fuck Jen. Nope, I'm not calling her. I was so mad at you, man. I'm glad you were in jail, because I probably would have punched you in the nose.
Yeah, I mean, stupid shit always sounds like a good idea at the time, right? So
it does. That's valid.
The only thing I will say, and this isn't anything to be proud of, I guess, but I did stay away from heroin. Meth isn't any better, but I don't know if it's that I got that particular drug compartmentalized in a part of my brain now, or I haven't done dope. It's almost a couple of years now. And that was always my kryptonite. Not to say that meth is good for me or anything.
No, I can relate to that, because, oh my God, this November is going to be 13 years that I'll have from heroin.
No, it's a long time.
But I was smoking meth like I was breathing air.
Yeah.
But I made a promise to myself that I would never pick up heroin again, and I didn't. But I was fucking putting meth away with the best of them, like no tomorrow, like I was my job. Like, it was my job. Like, that's literally all I did. That's why I was 82 pounds, right?
Yeah.
So that's valid. Like, one thing at a time. In essence, that's actually the epitome of harm reduction, right? You stop doing one drug, you reduce the harm in your life, and then it was a process to get rid of the last one. So you get rearrested, you get violated on probation, right? You get rearrested, you go back to the jail, I yell at you. We start talking and working together little by little. They then offer you a program, correct?
Yeah. So my PO, who's actually a pretty good guy.
He is.
He mentioned to me, actually, the day that I got picked up when I had a probation warrant, he came and got me, and he mentioned something about rehab that day. And I was skeptical. I really didn't think that they were going to send me to rehab, because I tried to get to rehab for the 10 months I was in jail and never ended up going. At that point, it was like a unicorn to me. Like, I didn't think it was ever going to happen. And then like a day or so later, they brought me down. I mean, I'd been up for a week on meth. So first thing I did was sleep for like 2 days. The COs woke me up to go down to drug court, I think on Monday, and I barely remember it because I was still so fucked up. Um, I went down there and they mentioned, and actually Joe Armetti, my lawyer there, he mentioned that they're going to send you to rehab.
He is absolutely one of the good guys.
Joe?
Yes.
Yeah, he's a good lawyer. He's a good dude.
He's a good dude. Like, he's a good human being. He genuinely gives a shit about the people he works with. And every time one of my people tell me they have him as a lawyer, I'm like, thank you, God. Because he cares. Like, in his heart, he genuinely cares. He cares about the community. He cares about the people. He wants people to do better. He wants to see them succeed. And I genuinely care for him as a human being. And he's just a great lawyer on top of all of that.
I've heard stories of him giving people like work and stuff. So
he's an amazing human being.
Yeah, he seems like a decent guy.
Mm-hmm.
But they offered me to go to rehab. And 3 weeks later, I ended up going to rehab. First time, 43, been getting high my whole life, and it's the first time I ever did it. And it was typical the way shit usually goes for me, that I would have to go through 10 months of nonsense trying to get in. I was literally in jail watching people that weren't even in there for drugs going to rehab. This one guy was in there for beating the piss out of his wife, and they sent him to rehab. And here I am with an onslaught of charges that are all affiliated with getting high and doing dumb shit to get high. And they're like, nah, you got low blood sugar. You can fuck yourself. I didn't understand that at all.
I don't know if that's per se the conversation, how it went.
That's kind of how it felt.
That's how it was perceived.
If it wasn't that, then why did they leave me locked in my cell, quarantined for 3 goddamn weeks for nothing? That was fucking spite all day.
It could have been. I unfortunately, I was not there at the time. But.
And I don't mean that on a part of the people that do the treatment.
Right.
But, you know.
No, okay,
I don't know who's going to see this, so I'm not going to talk too much shit.
No, you're fine. You're fine. It's fine.
You know.
So when I was there, I did 65 straight days in lock, and I hated every fucking second of it. And now that I'm that far removed from it, Dana, it helped change my life.
Yeah.
Honestly, I swear to God it did. Because I had no one else to depend on but me. And I had no one else to talk to but me. And I had no one else to allow me to dream and journal and whatever the case may be. You know, I had me and only me, and it forced me to get comfortable with the new me I was becoming. So sometimes these things, while we're going through them, fucking horrible, and they are, and it was traumatic, and it was horrible, and it was unnecessary, and it was cold, and it was cruel, but I'm a stronger individual because of it now. People are like when COVID happened, they're like, don't you hate? No, shit, this is great. I got a couch. I had a cat. Lena was with me through the whole COVID thing, right? I had fucking snacks whenever I wanted to. I could shower. I didn't have to sit on a silver toilet, you know? I was gravy with COVID. I knew how to do lock, you know? And then I went to prison. I did lock. So I was cool, man. It was I could turn the heat up when I needed to. I was okay with it.
Yeah.
All right. So you go to rehab and you go to Casa Trinity in upstate New York.
Yep.
Yeah, I see your face. You're like, yeah.
So the first rehab I went to, I ended up locked in a room with another. Because of COVID, yeah. A majority of the time I was there, which, I don't know, I got nothing to compare it to as far as what rehab is supposed to be like, because I've only been to the 2. But, I mean, they still tried. They did what they could, you know. It's not like it was their fault. COVID is just what COVID is. People had it. I ended up getting it.
I remember you were kind of sicky too.
Oh, I was really sick. And, you know, so we're doing meetings over Skype, Zoom, whatever it was. So
I remember when you told me that, I was like, what?
I feel like it probably took away from me, you know.
It definitely does.
But that was just the beginning of it anyway. I ended up going to a 3-month after that, and that was quite a bit different. You know, we had a lot more interactions and stuff like that. And it was a decent group of people there when I was there. They had a few silly rules, but any place where you put that many people, especially drug addicts, in one place, they're going to have frivolous rules just to teach you how to follow rules. And that's pretty much what they're for. They might seem stupid at the time, but if you think about it, they're there for a reason. Nobody's really that petty. They just do it to teach you. Sometimes you just got to do shit you don't want to do. And, you know, the quicker you realize that, the easier it is to get along with it sometimes.
I think for us older folk, because we're the same age, I think for some reason we grasp that concept and we understand those things. I think for the the child folk, you know, when they go there in their 20s and stuff, that shit's rough, you know, because they're still in the stage of don't tell me how to live my life. I do what I want. And they haven't earned I do what I want yet. And they have to learn, and those frivolous rules are put in place because of that, you know. um I just think that once you get to a certain age in life, you tend to have different points of views
Hmm.
or different experiences, and your mentality obviously is different, and you see things through a different set of eyes because you are older and you do have more experiences. So sometimes now, like when I hear frivolous little rules or when I put them in place, like take your shoes off when you come to my house or silly little things, I don't get as excitable about them
Hmm.
as I used to when I was younger. I think things like that come with age and with maturity.
The way I felt about it was I was there to learn something that I didn't already know.
Mm-hmm.
So if something didn't make sense to me, then that might have been something that I needed to figure out. So I just didn't let any of that shit bother me. And I tried to communicate that point to other people that weren't necessarily getting it, so as to maybe help them make it a little easier for them too. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. There were a few people that were just not really into it.
Right. And you'll have that. It is
Yeah.
what it is. Not everybody goes there with the same mindset. Not everybody goes there, even though they're made to go there. Some people are there just to go through the motions, right?
Matter of fact, the place I went to afterwards for supportive living, I went to that place specifically because I had two options, and one of the two places, A, was a little further away from home for me, and B, there was this guy there whose name I won't even mention,
Okay.
but he's a putz. He used to drive me nuts. Nobody liked this guy. And I get along with people that most other people don't get along with.
Mm,
So basically, if
me
I
too.
think you're a putz, you're probably a putz. Um, and I went to that place
Frankie.
because he was going to the other place. So I went there to get away from him. Some bitch followed me anyway. I was like,
Well, maybe he needed you more than. Oh, apparently Frankie wants to make
I
your
don't.
debut. Shizzy, come on, baby. And I was worried this was going to be an issue. Okay. Here's everybody's snapshot of Frankie. You haven't seen her in a while. Okay, baby, come on. Good girl. Thank you. No, we're not playing. We'll play later. Okay. So you were at Casa Trinity for 3 months.
Yep.
And then you went to the halfway house for how long?
Supportive living.
Supported
I
living.
skipped the
Excuse me.
I mean, they wanted to send me to a halfway house, and I was there. That was their suggestion at first. But I went in and talked to him and told him like that I'd basically been locked up and locked down
Mm-hmm.
for a while previous to going there, and that I was ready to start getting back out in the world. That I was basically going crazy. I was like ready to start, trying to get back into a normal routine.
Right.
And I've been away from my kids for so long. I want to be in a position to be able to see my kids and stuff.
Absolutely.
And I felt it would be counterproductive for me to be in another controlled setting to the point where I couldn't come and go as I wanted to, and I didn't have any responsibility of my own. I had somebody there holding me accountable 24/7. I didn't want that, and I didn't need that. I think I articulated that well enough to them that they agreed, and they let me go to the supported living house, which was a good place too.
How was it? What was it like?
It's literally a house, and there was between 2 and 4 of us there at all times, depending. A couple guys came and went. There was one room there we think was cursed because everybody that went into that room ended up getting booted out for using, but everybody else did fine.
Well, I'm glad you weren't in that room.
No, I wasn't in that room. I stayed in the same room the whole time.
Okay, so what did you work while you were there?
Well, that's the funny thing is the way that the Department of Social Services in the state is set up is when you're in a place like that, if you were to pick up even a 10-hour-a-week
They'll
part-time
cut your services.
job, they cut your services, which negates the payment to the company. Some supportive living houses will take a small portion of your pay and let you stay anyway. But that place wanted a lot of money if you paid out of pocket. So even working at a full-time job, they basically put you in a position where
You can't work.
you can't work. Yeah, exactly. And I had surgery while I was there anyway. So
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
What'd you have done?
my
Your
shoulder. Yeah. So and my shoulders, I think it should be healed by now. It's been like 3.5 months. It's still
Do
a
you
little.
have a doctor that you're seeing here now?
I have not got there yet.
Oh, well, we'll discuss that after this.
Yeah, I really don't like doctors.
Well, I have a guy. You'll like him.
Every
He's
time I go
good
to see a
shit.
doctor, they want to shove pills down your throat.
No,
And I don't
he's
like
not. We can call him together if you want. He's
Yeah.
not like that at all.
Alright.
Jared gets his Vivitrol shot from him.
I could probably use an X-ray or something on my shoulder.
Okay.
I don't know. It felt good at first, but honestly, but lately it's been not working so well. I don't have the strength up here that I should. So,
Okay.
and I'm a
We'll
carpenter, so that's a
definitely-
problem.
Yeah. So you did the supportive living, and then you graduated from that.
Yeah.
When?
Yep. I've been home for 2 weeks now.
And you now have your first place by yourself, sober.
Yeah, correct.
How does that feel?
Good. I mean, it's a start. I got HUD, which is good.
It's amazing, as you should.
which was nice to be able to let the time go by while I was up there in sport living. They let the time crew.
So, tell me about your place.
It's just basically one big room and a bathroom and a small kitchen. It's just
it's a studio.
It's a studio, exactly.
And what do you have furniture?
Some.
Like what? Tell me.
Currently,
make me come in there when I drop you off.
I have 2 chairs, like not recliners, but just like little cushion chairs, whatever you want to call them.
Okay.
It's 2 chairs. I got
a bed.
I have a pull-out bed mattress on the floor. It does the trick.
Okay.
It's a lot better. The first night I was there, I slept on the floor. That sucked. I got enough to get by. I got a dresser. I got a nightstand.
Do you have a way to cook?
I bought a hot plate, and my landlord actually brought me one the next day too. So I got side-by-side hot plates.
Okay.
And,
do you have pots and pans?
I got a few.
Okay, so terrific. I'm going to put together a small Amazon wish list for Dana. So, because apparently he thinks he's fine, but we we'll do some things. How about hygiene? Do you have hygiene?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I got it.
You have clothing?
Yeah.
Do you have laundry detergent?
Yeah, actually.
Do you have a way to do your laundry?
That's kind of an issue for me.
Okay. I wish I would have known that because I would have told you to bring it. You could have done it over here. Ooh,
the reason it's a problem is because at one point in time...
Is there a laundry machine in Sydney? No.
Yeah, there's a laundromat, but I'm not allowed in it. Oh. So I don't care. I'll get into that a little bit. I'm not going to mention the guy's name, but you know him. He stole some shit from me one night, and he was at the laundromat, and me and him had a little bit of a confrontation in the laundromat. Let's just leave it at that. So I'm not allowed in the laundromat.
Okay, fair enough.
And it's the only one there now. There was 2, and the other one shut down. So
yeah. Okay. So we can arrange that you can come here once a week to do your laundry. You're 5 minutes away. That's not a big deal. Because everybody should be able to have clean clothes.
I've been having somebody else. If my kid's over, I'll make him go in and throw him in or something. Is what I've been doing. But
the option is here if you need to throw your laundry in because that sucks.
Yeah.
It does. It really sucks. And it's depressing not being able to do that in China. Oh, God, that sucks. I remember not being able to have enough money to go to the laundromat when Bella and I lived in Sydney and having to, do laundry and then schlep it all the way all over the place to try and, ma'am, go sit down, please.
I've done in the sink, in the bathtub. I've done all that shit. Yeah.
Well, I have some little sink sud packets that I'm going to give you in case you have, socks or something you need to do in the meantime, just so you have it. So now what are your plans now? So you're home, you're sober 10 months, you're still on treatment court and probation. Yeah. And what are your goals for yourself moving forward?
Well, right now I'm just focusing mostly on drug court, staying out of trouble, obviously.
How much time you have left on treatment court?
I'm not 100% sure because they were up in the air on exactly how they were going to calculate my time when I was in rehab. Scott said that they might give me half the time or they might give me all the time. He wasn't sure. But I'm thinking somewhere around 6 or 7 months left.
Okay. Yeah. And then moving forward.
So once obviously with drug court and all the appointments.
How long is probation? 5 or 3?
It's 5 now, but as long as I complete drug court, it's going to be 3. So they're basically holding a felony over my head. And if I complete drug court, they pull the felony, make a misdemeanor. Commute it to 3 years probation instead.
Well, you asked
getting off.
You asked Randy the other day if there was an option of getting off early. Yeah, sorry, I had to interrupt him because the dog was chomping on. I don't even know what.
It looked like an ice cube.
I thought it was an ice cube at first, but apparently it's plastic. My daughter has a very bad habit of leaving shit all over the place for the dog to nibble on. So, work-wise, what is it that you want to do?
I've been a carpenter my whole life, and I've always been real comfortable with that. I guess mostly because of the kind of people that are involved in the trade, and that's kind of who I've always fit in with. And I enjoy doing construction. I also enjoy bending wrenches. I like working mechanic work. It's just always kind of been part of my persona. I actually took an aptitude test when I was in rehab, and I was surprised to see that it said I would be best geared for social work and that kind of thing. And I've always kind of liked helping people and that kind of stuff anyway. So I thought about getting a peer certificate at some point.
I think once you celebrate a year, I think you absolutely should. These two are best friends, by the way.
Yeah.
Sorry, Pumpkin and Frankie are licking each other's ears and playing and hanging out. I think once you get a year, we should absolutely start to work on getting you a scholarship for Recovery Coach Academy. And I think that this is something that you absolutely should definitely strive towards, because unfortunately there are not enough male peers out there.
Yeah.
There's truly not.
Yeah.
And there are some things that a woman needs a woman for and a man needs a man for.
Right.
100%. And I think you would be fantastic at it. I truly do. I just really encourage everybody their first year of sobriety to solely work on themselves and then move forward.
I'm not rushing into that or anything. I got other issues, like I got transportation issues and that kind of stuff. Obviously, you wouldn't be doing so well.
Where we live, you're gonna always have transportation issues. I feel like it's like inevitable around here because it's so rural and there's zero public transportation. And I mean,
just basically having no car right now. I do have a license, I just don't have a car.
Do you?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's always good to know.
It's expensive goddamn thing I own.
Be happy you have it. Many people do not, and they would cut their arm off for it.
I've got $14,000 in my license over the years. I did the math one day.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I haven't had one since '07, but I've got.
And look, now your sobriety
DVs.
has brought you that too.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to tell the lovely people of YouTube land?
Don't do drugs.
That should be the theme. All right, guys, we're going to end it today. Maybe you'll want to come back at some point in time. Maybe we want to start your own channel.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for joining us. If you have any questions for Dana, please post them down below and I will make sure that he gets them. And remember, we recover loudly, so those behind us do not suffer in silence. Bye.
Bye.